The day I graduated from college should have been one of the happiest moments of my life. Instead, it became the day my family threw me away. I still remember standing in our driveway, my graduation gown wrinkled and damp from the light rain, while my father's words cut through the air like knives. A degree in computer science? What a waste. He waved my diploma like it was garbage. Your sister is in medical school, becoming a real professional, and you spent 4 years learning to play with computers? My mother stood in the doorway, arms crossed, disappointment etched on her face. We spent all that money on your education and this is how you repay us? I tried one last time to make them understand. The tech industry is the future, Mom. I already have job offers dash. From startups. My father spat. Not real companies. Not respectable positions like your sister's residency at Metropolitan Hospital. Ah yes, my perfect sister Diana. Ever since she'd gotten into medical school, nothing I did could measure up. It didn't matter that I'd graduated summa cum laude, or that I'd developed 3 successful apps during college. In their eyes, anything tech-related was just playing around. The companies I'm interviewing with are offering 6-figure starting salaries, I said quietly. More than a first-year resident makes. That was the wrong thing to say. My father's face turned purple with rage. Get out, he roared. You're a disappointment, Olivia. A complete failure. Don't come back until you've gotten a real job. My mother didn't say a word as he slammed my suitcase onto the driveway. She just watched, silent and judging, as my father threw out the daughter who dared to choose computers over clinics. I picked up my suitcase, the weight of my laptop inside offering strange comfort. Goodbye then, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I won't bother you with my failures anymore. That was 5 years ago. 5 years during which I didn't just survive, I thrived. While my parents were busy bragging about Diana's residency at every family gathering, I was building something they couldn't even comprehend. It started with a simple idea during a late-night coding session in my tiny studio apartment. I'd been freelancing, developing custom software solutions for small businesses, when I noticed a pattern. Every company needed similar tools, but the existing options were either too expensive or too complicated. So I created StreamFlow, a suite of business management tools that anyone could use, regardless of their tech expertise. It took months of 18-hour days surviving on ramen and coffee, but finally I had a working prototype. The first client was a local bakery, then a law firm, then a medical practice. Oh, the irony. Within a year, StreamFlow had grown from a one-woman operation to a company with 50 employees. By year 3, we had offices in 3 cities and a client list that included Fortune 500 companies. I kept my name out of the press, operating through a holding company that obscured my identity. As far as the business world knew, StreamFlow was run by OS Industries, a deliberately vague corporate entity. I had my reasons for staying anonymous, and those reasons were about to walk through my office door. Miss Shaw. My assistant's voice came through the intercom. Your 2 p.m. interviews have arrived. Mr. and Mrs. Carter are here for the senior management positions. I smiled, remembering the resumes that had crossed my desk last week. My parents, both recently laid off from their long-term jobs, desperately seeking employment at one of the city's fastest-growing tech companies. They had no idea who owned it. Send them to the main conference room, I instructed. Tell them the CEO will be conducting their interviews personally. I stood up, smoothing down my designer suit, a far cry from the jeans and hoodies my parents had once mocked as unprofessional. Through the glass walls of my corner office, I could see the sprawling tech campus that housed StreamFlow's headquarters. Not bad for someone who just played with computers. Walking to the conference room, I caught sight of my reflection in the polished steel walls. At 31, I barely resembled the tearful graduate my parents had thrown out. Success had given me something money couldn't buy: confidence. I paused outside the conference room, watching through the one-way glass as my parents fidgeted nervously in their seats. My mother was clutching her designer handbag, a remnant of better days, while my father kept adjusting his tie. They looked older, more worn. The recent layoffs had clearly taken their toll. How long have they been waiting? I asked my assistant. 20 minutes, she replied with a slight smirk. She knew the story, knew why I was making them wait. Perfect. I checked my watch. And Diana? Any word from the hospital? Your sister is still planning to apply here next week. She's desperate after losing her position at Metropolitan. I nodded. Karma had a way of evening things out. Diana's prestigious hospital had shut down due to mismanagement, leaving dozens of doctors scrambling for new positions. Including my perfect sister who was now eyeing a career change into medical software. Miss Shaw. My assistant's voice was tentative. Are you really going to hire them? I thought about that rainy graduation day, about the years of silence that followed, about all the family events I wasn't invited to because my career was too embarrassing to explain to relatives. That depends, I said, reaching for the conference room door, on whether they recognize their disappointment of a daughter. The door opened silently. My parents looked up, their expressions shifting from nervous anticipation to shock to absolute disbelief. My mother's expensive handbag slipped from her fingers, hitting the floor with a thud that echoed in the sudden silence. Hello, Mom, Dad, I said calmly, taking my seat at the head of the table. I believe you're here to interview for positions at my little computer company? My father's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. My mother had gone pale, her perfectly applied makeup unable to hide her shock. Olivia, she finally whispered. This is your company? I smiled, picking up their resumes. Streamflow? Yes. One of the fastest growing tech companies in the country. Currently valued at just over $2 billion. I paused, enjoying the way their eyes widened at the number. Not bad for someone who was just playing with computers, right? My father seemed to have found his voice. But the owner is OS Industries. Olivia Shaw Industries, I clarified. I thought you might appreciate the irony when you finally figured it out. The silence that followed was deafening. Outside the conference room, life at Streamflow continued as normal, developers in casual clothes discussing code, project managers reviewing timelines, success happening everywhere you looked. Success that I had built piece by piece while my family was busy dismissing my choices. So, I said, opening their files, shall we begin the interviews? I believe you both have extensive experience in traditional business management. I glanced up, my expression neutral. Though I'm not sure how well that translates to a tech company. After all, we're not a real business, are we? My father recovered first, his shock transforming into that familiar authoritative tone I'd grown up with. Now, Olivia, there's no need for sarcasm. We're still your parents, Dash. Are you? I cut him off smoothly. Because I distinctly remember being told not to come back until I had a real job. Well, I gestured to the gleaming office around us. Is this real enough for you? My mother leaned forward, her voice taking on that syrupy sweet tone she used when trying to manipulate situations. Darling, we were just worried about your future. We didn't understand about computers back then. But now seeing all this. She waved her hand at the surroundings. We're so proud, Dash. Proud. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You're proud now that I'm successful? Now that you need something from me? I pulled up their employment records on my tablet. Let's see. Both laid off from Preston and Associates 3 months ago. Multiple failed job applications. Depleted savings. I looked up. Is that why you're suddenly proud? Because you're desperate. The color drained from their faces. My father straightened his tie nervously. That's not fair, Olivia. We've realized we were wrong, Dash. When? I interrupted again. When did you realize? When you lost your jobs? When you couldn't get hired anywhere else? Or was it when you heard Streamflow was hiring and offering 6-figure salaries? I paused, letting that sink in. Because you didn't seem to realize anything during the 5 years I was building this company. We tried to contact you, my mother protested weakly. Did you? I pulled up another file on my tablet. Let's see. No calls, no messages, no emails. But there are plenty of social media posts bragging about Diana's medical career. Oh, and my favorite. I turned the screen toward them, showing a post from 2 years ago. Here's Dad telling everyone how thankful he is to have one successful daughter, when Diana got her attending position. My father shifted uncomfortably. That was before Dash. Before you knew I was worth billions? I finished for him. Before you realized that playing with computers could actually build something valuable? Through the glass walls, I could see my employees watching with poorly concealed interest. The prodigal parents coming to beg for jobs from the daughter they'd thrown away. It would have been funny if it wasn't so sad. What about Diana? My mother asked suddenly. She's applying here next week. Will you humiliate her too? I smiled. Diana will be interviewed like any other candidate. Though I'm curious, does she know her little sister owns the company she's desperate to work for? Their silence was answer enough. I thought not. I closed their files. Well, let's proceed with the actual interviews, shall we? Tell me, what relevant experience do you have for positions at a cutting-edge tech company? What followed was 30 minutes of painful attempts to reframe their traditional business experience as relevant to Streamflow. My father kept emphasizing his years of management experience, while my mother spoke about client relations, as if those skills alone qualified them for senior positions in a technology company. Let me be clear, I said finally, interrupting my father's rambling about his leadership style. Streamflow isn't a traditional company. We don't hire based on age or experience alone. Every employee, from junior developers to senior management, needs to understand our technology. But surely, my mother began, with our backgrounds dash. Can either of you code? I asked bluntly. Do you understand cloud architecture? Agile development? AI integration? I watched their blank expressions. These aren't just buzzwords here. They're the foundation of what we do. We can learn, my father said desperately. We're willing to start at any level dash. Like I had to? I cut in. When you threw me out with nothing but my laptop and a degree you thought was worthless? Silence fell again. Outside, the sun was setting over the tech campus, casting long shadows through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Here's what's going to happen, I said, standing up. There are entry-level positions available in our customer service department. Starting salary is $45,000 a year. You'll need to pass a basic technical assessment and complete our standard 6-month probationary period. Their faces fell. This wasn't what they'd hoped for when applying for senior management positions. That's less than we made as managers, my father protested weakly. Yes, I agreed. But it's more than I had when you kicked me out. The difference is I'm giving you a chance. That's more than you gave me. My mother started to cry, carefully controlled tears that had always worked on me before. Olivia, please. We can't survive on that salary. Our mortgage, our lifestyle. Then I suggest downsizing. Sell the house. Move to a smaller place. Learn to live within your means. I gathered my papers. That's what I had to do when I was starting out. Amazing how character building it can be. You're enjoying this, aren't you? My father accused, a flash of his old anger showing through. Punishing us? I met his gaze steadily. No, Dad. I'm running my company according to its established hiring policies. The fact that you find fair treatment punishing says more about you than it does about me. I pressed the intercom. Julia, please escort Mr. and Mrs. Carter to HR. They'll be applying for customer service positions. I turned back to my parents. That is, if you're interested in playing with computers now? They had no choice and they knew it. Their savings were depleted, their reputations in traditional business circles tarnished by their layoffs. Streamflow represented their best chance at steady employment. We'll take the positions, my father said stiffly. Wonderful. I smiled professionally. HR will handle the paperwork. Oh, and one more thing. I waited until they were at the door. When Diana comes in for her interview next week, feel free to warn her who she'll be working for. It might help her adjust her attitude accordingly. After they left, I stood at my office window, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. On my desk, a framed photo showed a younger me at graduation, proud and hopeful before everything fell apart. Next to it sat this month's Forbes magazine with Streamflow on the cover, the future of business technology. My phone buzzed, a text from Diana. Mom and Dad told me everything. I can explain about the social media posts. I left it unanswered. Let her sweat a little before her interview. After all, family relationships were like computer code, garbage in, garbage out. They'd given me nothing but criticism and rejection. They couldn't expect premium access in return. The next morning, my parents arrived for their first day of customer service training. I watched from my office as they sat through basic technical orientations, struggling to understand concepts that our youngest employees grasped easily. The same technology they'd dismissed as worthless was now their lifeline to financial stability. During their lunch break, I overheard my father telling my mother, I can't believe she's the CFO. All those years we thought We were wrong, my mother replied simply. So terribly wrong. Yes, they were. But as I turned back to my work, reviewing plans for Streamflow's upcoming international expansion, I realized something important. Success isn't about proving others wrong, it's about proving yourself right. Every line of code I'd written, every sleepless night of development, every small victory that led to this moment, I'd done it for me, not for them. Let them learn to use computers. Let them struggle with basic tech concepts. Let them experience what it's like to start from the bottom. Maybe then they'd understand that sometimes the child you throw away becomes the adult you have to answer to. After all, karma, like good programming, is all about loops and returns.